I actually have the support of a team that works with me on my projects. So when you see my website or my book or anything on the internet, like on YouTube, that's produced through me, any of these items, the graphics that you see on my website, the graphics on my book, how the content is arranged, and the work involved in making things available to you, like my book and my course online, so you can access these things, pay and receive them. These are all done and created and maintained by members of my team. What I mean by my team, these are not people who are employees or contractors. They're not mercenaries. They're not people I pay to do needed work for me. I only work with people who are passionate about my work, who find great value in it, and are moved to contribute. I've never asked someone to be on my team or do this kind of work. These are very highly qualified people with great skills who do great work in their fields, and they're moved to contribute. And for instance, person who created my current website, the person who created the website before that, and a person who's working with me right now to redo my book, to make it a little more user-friendly and reader-friendly, and correct some typos and grammatical errors, redo the appearance a bit, a very well-experienced publishing editor. And this particular teammate of mine, see, all these people approach me wanting to do work with or for me. They may ask if they can get a session or some training in exchange for their work. You know, that's all they ask, if they ask anything at all. Very often they don't, but I'm certainly going to compensate a person. I'm going to compensate with what they find great value in, as well as me, which is I will give them their sessions, I will give them training. And that's my team. Not mercenaries, team members who are really moved and really enthused and impassioned about my work. That ensures a much higher quality and a purity of conveying things the way I mean them to be conveyed when I'm relying on other people to be involved in creating, producing, and so forth. So very often, the people that come to me for sessions, for training, are enthused about my work. Very often, these are people who have had the Scientology experience like I have. And to them, it's more accessible what I do. They feel like I speak their language. I've been through that journey. I can relate to that. And I'm kind of a stop where people come to when they transcend Scientology, transcend other related things, and they kind of wind up with me, and they will have whatever they want accomplished or resolved, because that's what I do. And one such person working with me right now on revising, re-editing, and improving my first book. And by the way, my second book is well underway. My second book is going to be a collection of quotes, or you could say maybe very short essays, to provide inspiration, enlightenment, and the kind of things people may be interested in of a spiritual or emotional nature. That's well underway. So one person who's currently a very enthused and very helpful member of my team, all members of my team are incredibly helpful. They're, I think, like, you've probably been called brilliant. Sometimes I've been called brilliant. We are all brilliant at whatever we're passionate about. And I have brilliant people working for me. So one of these people with a Scientology background, and this is a question only people who had the Scientology experience will understand, but do I make use of rudiments? In Scientology, there's something called rudiments. So the question was, what about rudiments? Are the rudiments being used in the work I do? And that's being used as a Scientology term. The answer is no. That's a Scientology thing. And why don't I use it? Not merely because it's a Scientology thing, but it's representative of a lot of what is wrong with Scientology. In Scientology, this is what rudiments is. When you go into a session with a counselor, a Scientology auditor as they're called, they go in with a plan that's been written or approved by a case supervisor who's been trained to drive people up the continuing sequence of processes of the Scientology plan, or what they call the grade chart, or the Scientology bridge. It's a sequence of what they promote as levels. Okay, I am definitely not a believer in any sort of concept of levels of being, levels of existence. You know, that you will achieve a certain level by doing what we have to offer. That's a great marketing point for a lot of things. I think ultimately it proves to be false and deceptive. But anyway, people do tend to be gullible suckers for the idea of levels. The idea of being handed something that says, see, you've advanced, you're better. You're better than people who haven't advanced to what you've advanced to. This is a criteria, a marker that, that you can hold on to know that you've accomplished something in terms of advancing yourself. No, you know that when you know that, by how you feel, and that's all that really matters. Anyway, back to my point. So the Scientology auditor, when you come into a session with a Scientology auditor, they have a plan from their case supervisor, from their system, from their works, from their grade charts, from their levels. And so you come into that session, and what they want to do is make sure you don't have your mind on anything else, so they can move you through their pro forma series of system. And so there's something they use called rudiments to check to see if anything's on your mind so they can get it off your mind. And the three basic rudiments, and I'm going to use English terms, not Scientology's terms, but is there anything you're upset about? Is there anything you're worried about? Is there anything you're worried somebody might find out about you? And then they go about with techniques for getting these things off your mind so that they can go ahead and take you through their system of what to address in the session and how to address it with their techniques. To me, this is the essence of what's wrong, because your own instinct, what comes into your mind, that's what's important. Something comes into your mind because that's what I call your spiritual compass, presenting what it is that you will most benefit from addressing, and addressing with a technique that will resolve it for you. So when Scientology addresses that with their rudiments, the whole point is just get it off your mind. It's not really resolving too much. Whereas the way I work, what you come into a session with on your mind is the most relevant thing there could possibly be. It's on your mind. It's relevant. It's what matters. It's what's going to make a difference for you. Rather than telling you how great you're doing by your position on the Scientology chart of advancement and them, just guiding you, taking you through their plan and their system. So the answer to the question, do you use rudiments, Dex? The answer is of course not. Rudiments is a means of misdirecting you from what is really relevant to you and what is really on your mind, so they can just take you through their process. So whose benefit can that really be for? What's important is what's relevant. What's relevant is what comes to your mind, what you're thinking about, what you have feelings about. That's what you're interested in, because that's what you need to address to resolve something or accomplish something. So that is a key example of where I feel Scientology goes wrong and where I take a different path with you to address what you want to address. Because I've said this many times, as far as I'm concerned, the only valid function for any counselor, therapist, spiritual guide, whatever, is to facilitate your accomplishing what you are here to accomplish, what you come in with on your mind, what you would like to have help with. That is the only valid function any practitioner could have. The rest is all selling you their system. And I consider that a misdirection and misleading. So no, I do not use anything like Scientology's rudiments. We're actually going to take up what you're here to take up. I mean, more than anything else, the reason that people come to me after any amount of time, decades, and hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in Scientology, what they're coming to me for is to finally, really and only accomplish what they were trying to accomplish for themselves all along. Because that's what matters. Not what me or I or some therapist, counselor, Scientologist, or whoever thinks you should be accomplishing. That's an imposition on you. That's their projection. Maybe it's what they need. People do tend to project their material on others. That's not what I'm here for. So no, I do not use any technique to take your mind off of what you come into this session with. I will address it. We'll take it up so that it will resolve for you. And yes, I do come into the session with a plan based on what you've told me you're trying to accomplish and what's disturbing you. And sometimes you're going to come into a session and something else is going to be on your mind than what we've discussed. And I am going to set aside my plan to help you with where your spiritual compass is taking your mind now, because that's what's going to be of most benefit to you. What I have in mind, which again is only based on what you've told me you're here for, that will fit in. But of prime importance is, in this moment, what you are here in front of me with on your mind needing to be addressed.